And that was my thing for a while. Well, then, when I was a little older, belt buckles were the thing. And so I collected belt buckles. No, seriously. Like, you think people wear belt buckles? No, I had belt buckles as a kid. I had one that had guns crossed on it that said Smith & Wesson. Oh, yeah. And I had an American flag one. I even had one with a T on it, for Tim. And so it was just different belt buckles that I collected. Well, I kind of got over the whole collecting thing. But then I started collecting Tar Heel stuff. If you guys come to my office, you'll see I've got shelves with Tar Heel stuff on it. I've got an area behind my desk that's got Tar Heel stuff on it. I don't really collect it anymore, but people know I like the Tar Heels, and so they buy me stuff. And so I just add it to the collection. So I've collected over the years, but I'm not one of those, what I would call extreme collectors. Y'all know what I'm talking about? You might be sitting beside one. I don't know. But I have found some people, and I want to introduce you to these people that I would call extreme collectors. And I want you to see their pictures as we go along. This first one, this is Deb Hoffman. She collects Winnie the Pooh memorabilia, and she has 13,213 different stuffed animals. Would you like to be married to her, guys? All right. Not to be outdone, the men come in with Steve Sansweet. He actually owns over 500,000 different pieces of Star Wars memorabilia. Can you imagine that? 500,000. Well, here's Lisa Courtney. She got into Pokemon, and she actually has 14,410 different Pokemon characters. Well, this is Dick Polinsky, who collects golf balls, and he has over 36,000 individual unique kinds of golf balls. Impressive, right? Wow. This is Antonia Kozakova. She collects napkins, and she has over 62,000 napkins that she has collected over the years. All right, well, how about Tushar Lekhumple? He collects pencils, and he has 19,824 of them. Pencils, right? Okay, well, how about Harry Spurtle? Harry is known as the hamburger guy because he has over 3,724 unique pieces of hamburger memorabilia. Pretty awesome. But my absolute favorite is Nick Vermeulen. He collects barf bags. Is that not used? They're unused, okay? But since the 70s, he's collected 6,290 barf bags from 1,191 different airlines and from 200 different countries. That guy's awesome. Just saying. If you want to look at a collector extraordinaire, that's your guy right there. I like Nick. Now, I don't know if you're a collector, if that's your kind of thing, or maybe stuff is just stuff, but I believe we live in a culture that because more is better, we've gotten ourselves into all kinds of financial issues. I learned this week, and I try to keep the numbers current, right now they're saying that most households in America have about $137,000 worth of debt. I may not sound like you might be going, man, I wish that was me. That's kind of cheap. No, that's a lot. When the median income in the United States is $59,000. We're spending a whole lot more than what we're making. I got to hear a friend of mine preach several weeks ago. He's down in the Virginia Beach area, and he has a small group where they're going through Financial Peace University. There's 12 individuals in his group. They figured it out, they added it all up, and the average of the families in their group, they are $85,000 in debt, not including their mortgage. Oh, wow, right? Can you imagine that? $85,000 in debt, and that does not include your mortgage. But we live in a country and in a culture that says more is better. The average American household right now carries about $6,300 worth of credit card debt. I told you this last year, but in 2017, we surpassed the $1 trillion mark in credit card debt in this country. Trillion with a T. $6 See, we live in a country and in a culture that says more is better. And so we spend, and we've got to work so that we can spend, so that we can get more. And we have all this stuff, and we should control our stuff. But it seems like our stuff is beginning to control us. I'll give you one more to think about. I read an article on CNN that said in the United States, 75% of the families live paycheck to paycheck. That's 3 out of 4. Look down your pew. 3 out of 4 people in your pew will live paycheck to paycheck, which means there's nothing in savings. You get right to that time and you're like, man, I'm glad the check's finally getting here because I can buy groceries. Okay, living paycheck to paycheck. We live in this world where stuff matters and more is better. Although when we look in Scripture, when we look at what Jesus teaches us, we learn that less is more. But that's something that we have to fight. Let me ask you, if you can leave here today and be completely financially free, how many of y'all would want that? Just go ahead and throw your hand up. Right? No mortgage, no car payment, retirement, man, you are maxed out on retirement, everything is good, you are complete, you live in financial freedom. That would be such a wonderful thing to have, right? A gift if I could give that to you. If you want to get there, I believe you can get there. But if you're going to, you've got to change your thinking. You and I have got to begin to change the way we think about money and possessions and stuff if we're going to realize that less really is more. King Solomon said this in the Old Testament book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 4 and verse 6, better one handful with tranquility than 2 handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind. In other words, what he means is, it's better to have just enough and to live a peaceful life than to have way more than you need, and life is all about work. And that's all you can do is live each day to work, to make more money, to pay for the stuff. That's what King Solomon said in the Old Testament. Here's how Jesus said it in the New Testament, Luke chapter 12, verse 15. Then he said to them, watch out, be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in an abundance of your possessions. See, Jesus said that because a man came up to him and said, look, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me. And Jesus said, who made me judge over you? Listen, don't get caught up in greed, because your life does not consist in the abundance of what you have. Now, I want you to turn to Luke chapter 12. Would you turn there with me? Because one, if you've got your own Bible, I think you should mark that verse in your Bible if you haven't yet. Luke chapter 12 and verse 15. But then I want us to see, because Jesus is going to tell us a story. He's going to tell us a parable that's going to emphasize this idea that greed is bad and that life is not about all the stuff that we can have. So Luke chapter 12, we're going to pick it up in verse 16. All right, mark verse 15 and then let's pick it up in verse 16. Let's change our thinking. It says, and he told them this parable, the ground of a certain rich man yielded an abundant harvest. He thought to himself, well, what shall I do? I have no place to store my crops. Then he said, this is what I'll do. I'll tear down my barns and build bigger ones, and there I will store my surplus grain. And I'll say to myself, you have plenty of grain laid up for many years. Take life easy. Eat, drink, and be merry. You see this guy? He's a farmer. He has brought in his crops. He has been blessed so much by God that he can't get it all in his barns. He's going to have to tear down his barns and build bigger barns because he's got so much. And he says, and once I do that, I'm going to look and go, you know what? I'm good to go. I've got retirement set up. I'm ready for the rest of my life. I am going to just eat, drink, and be big. I am going to love life from this point on. Now, you and I don't really understand the barn and the crop story. Because I don't know of any of us in here that farm for a living. If you do, that's been a secret you've kept from me for years. There's not big farming right now. There are people that do it, but not for most of us. And so we go, okay, I'm not worried about a barn. I'm not worried about crops. But what we do understand is stuff. What we do understand is space. And what we understand a lot of times is we don't have enough space. In 1968, the year that I was born, the average American house was about 1,600 square feet. That's how much room you had in your house. Today, 50 years later, in 2018, the average is just over 2,600 square feet. We picked up 1,000 square feet. But here's the interesting thing. What have our families done? We've gotten small. You know, you used to have a big house because you had a lot of kids, and you had to have places to stuff the kids and all those kind of things. But we've got smaller families, but our houses have gotten bigger, and it's not about what you need. It's about showing other people how successful you are. And so the bigger your house is, the more successful. They go, wow, man, that guy's got a lot going on. They're able to do well. They're able to live in this big house. And so we may not understand barns and crops, but we understand big houses and putting all the latest stuff in there. You know, like an 80-inch TV. Gosh, I'm really trying to talk man into we need that. Have y'all seen that? The guy sitting there just staring at the game. I'm going, yeah, and we understand that concept. Our houses have gotten bigger. But even though they've gotten bigger, they still can't hold the stuff. The self-storage industry in the United States makes $38 billion a year off of you and I. Because we don't have enough room in our houses. 1 out of 11 American families have to have a storage unit outside of their house. Now, we've got attics, we've got basements, we've got double garages that we can't get our cars in because all of our stuff is there. Man, we understand what it's like to accumulate stuff. We have things. And so it might not be barns and crops, but it might be houses and storage units where we've got these things we go, I just can't let that go. It's my collection. I just can't let that go because I might, what is it? I might need it. You haven't used it since 1973, but you might need it this year, right? Okay, and so we understand that, but here's the thing about accumulating lots of stuff. It can put you in a place you don't want to be. In fact, let me keep on with this story because the saddest part of this parable comes in the next verse. Look at verse 20. But God said to him, you fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you. Then who will get what you have prepared for yourself? This is how it will be for whoever stores up things for themselves, but is not rich toward God. So here's what we do. We spend our lives preparing for the future. We spend our lives working jobs and making money and accumulating stuff because there is this target down the road that we call retirement. And we say, once I get there, then I'm going to be able to sit back. Maybe I'll eat, drink, and be merry. And so it's all about, I've got to do this, I've got to provide for my family, I've got to provide for my future, I've got to be ready. And it becomes all about stuff and money. But then all of a sudden, you're not there to use it. I have seen it time and time again where somebody worked their whole life, they retired, and died 3 weeks later. Or 3 months later. And they never got to enjoy their retirement. They could have enjoyed it back here, but they said, but if I keep working, then I can make more, and then I'm going to be happier and merrier and drink more and eat more. And they never get to enjoy it. That's what happened in the parable Jesus told. He said, this guy's going to build bigger barns. He's going to have so much that he can sit back and do nothing from now on. But he's going to die that very night. And how sad is that? How sad that that guy was so consumed with hoarding what he had that he didn't even realize that his life was a mist. It's here today, and it's gone tomorrow. Now, what I'm hoping for all of you, I want you to enjoy retirement. I want you to enjoy a good life. I believe God plans that for us. Not perfect life, not easy life, but it says that we're given everything for our enjoyment. That God wants us to enjoy, but we've got to be careful that we don't get so consumed in it that all of a sudden we get to a place where we go, hey, I can finally sit back and enjoy life, and you don't even get to live life. Man's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions. Greed should not drive what we do. So if we're going to believe the idea that less is more, if we're going to understand what God can do through us, we're going to have to change our thinking. And so let's try to change it this way. If I can say it in one statement, I'll say it like this. When you need less, God can use you more. Okay, I want you to get that idea. When you need less, God can use you more. So then how do we start needing less? How do we look at our lives and not be so driven by accumulating things and stuff? We're going to have to change our thinking. So let me give you a couple of principles that I think can help us as we try to think that direction. The first one is this: think small. Okay, I was going to say think less, but I know me and others in this room, we don't need to think any less than what we do now, right? It's just like, no. We need to think more. So don't think less. I want you to think small. There's a movement in our country called the minimalist movement. I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but these are people who are saying, you know what, we've got so much stuff, we would like to live a simpler life. Have less of an impact on the environment and just, appreciate the resources that we have. So we are going to live on less. And so they come up with concepts of we can have this particular number of items and we will live on that. In fact, Marley had a teacher last year who is now traveling with her family. It's a wife and a husband. They have 2 kids, and they're just traveling the countryside. And they live in this camper. And so she's teaching them, she's homeschooling them. And so instead of telling them about the Grand Canyon, they'll show them the Grand Canyon. Instead of teaching them, she's going to be able to show them these things. It's an awesome concept, and here's where I would have checked out on this whole adventure. They're living in a camper, and each one of them could have 40 items. Period. 40. Not 40 pieces of clothes, not 40 pairs of shoes, not 40. What they could take on the camper with them was 40 items. Clothes, shoes, deodorant, toothpaste, whatever. It comes down to 40 items. Man, that's pretty awesome if you could do that. I don't think I can do it. Do y'all? 40 items, but they're going to try to live a simpler life. The minimalist movement has opened up the tiny house movement. If y'all watch Tiny House on TV, it's a great thing, great concept, living in something smaller than what you think you need. Now, understand this, a tiny house officially is 500 square feet or less. Okay, that's kind of like up here, or less. Okay, so it's gotten extreme. There's extreme tiny houses. That's not these. 500 square feet or less. They start at about $10,000. You can get one built for up to about $30,000. But the crazy people, you can buy one for $250,000 now, which doesn't make any sense to me at all. But it's the whole idea of just having less and doing with less. Now, I'm not telling you to sell your house and get a tiny house. I'm not sure I could live with myself in a tiny house, you know? You gotta have a little room, so you're looking around at your spouse going, I know I can't live with you. We need some room. And if you've got kids, I'm telling you right now, I'm not living with my $2 in 500 square feet. It's not happening. I'm not telling you to think tiny house small, but I'm telling you to think smaller than what you think now. Like, if we can learn to live on less, what could God do with our abundance? If we learned that we could make it without so much stuff, what could God do with the things that we have left over? We've heard about a preacher's name's Craig Rochelle. We actually got this idea for this sermon series from him. And his family does something called buy one, give one. If they buy something new, they give that item away that they already have. So you buy a new shirt, you give a shirt away. You buy a new pair of shoes, you give a pair of shoes away. You buy a new washing machine, you give your washing machine away. And imagine if that was our philosophy. Number one, the amount of items we have would greatly diminish. But imagine the good that we could do for other people if we just said, I've got the money to be able to buy something, I'm going to buy it, but then I'm going to give something else away and help somebody. See, let's start thinking small. Or at least start thinking smaller. Because when you need less, God can use you more. And the second principle I want you to think about is this. We've got to learn to separate need from want. Y'all just get ready, because this is where it's going to get tough. Okay? You and I have to learn to separate need from want. Because we think we need a lot of things, but when we realize and get honest with ourselves, it's really a want. My generation, okay, those of you that are 50 years old and under, we have no idea what need is. Okay, now listen, I grew up in a preacher's house. My dad put himself through college with a wife and 2 kids. The best day of the year for us was when people brought garbage bags full of hand-me-down clothes. Okay, but I was always clothed. And I always had food. My age and down, we don't understand what it's like to be in need. But you talk to people that went through the Great Depression. They know what need is like. They know what it was like not to have food to put on the table, to wonder if they were going to be able to keep their house or keep their job. That generation, grandparents, great-grandparents, they understand need. That's why they're so tight with what they have. Now, I should use a better word. They're frugal with what they have because they knew what it was like not to have it. So they take the ketchup packets that are left over from the restaurant and they squeeze them into the ketchup container at home. And you go, what in the world? We can afford to buy ketchup. But there was a time they probably couldn't. And so they know what it's like to be in need. You and I, my generation and now, we don't. And even some of y'all that's older than me, you've gotten solved. Okay? Because needs and wants, they all go the same thing. So let's say we say we need food, but we want steak and lobster. Right? We want to go out to eat 6 days a week, and we use the justification that our family's crazy. And everybody's going different directions. And the only thing we can do is we can eat out. We got to eat out. That's the only way we can handle it. We need food, but we want convenience. We want all the food that we can have. You see how that's kind of... We need clothes, because I'm just going to tell y'all, if we were a naked church, I wouldn't be the preacher here. I ain't all about seeing all naked. That's just not my thing, okay? It's not happening. We need clothes. But we want, I don't hear you, we want the latest clothes, the latest name brand, the best clothes, so that when people look at us, they go, man, look at that name brand. Look at what they're wearing. I know they're successful. I know they got money. I know they got everything that they could possibly want. See, we need clothes, but we want more than that. We say we need a car for transportation, but what we want is the newest car, with the newest gadgets that now talk back to you and can get you anywhere you need to go. And not only is your seat warm, but it can be cool in the summer. And that's the things that we want. It's not a need. I agree, we need transportation, but we want something that's more than that. We need money. But what we want is to be rich. You may go, Tim, I don't want to be rich. Okay, then we want to be well off. You know, I want to be able to not worry month to month whether I can pay the bills. We need money to make life work, but we want to be very comfortable or rich. 2 weeks ago, mega jackpot lottery, right? $1.6 billion. The payout is over $900 million. 15.7 million people bought a ticket for that lottery. Why? Because they need $1.6 billion? No, because if I get it, I'm telling everybody where they can go. I'm just done. Life is going to be about me, and I'm going to have money. Now, I'll do some good. I'll give it to the church. And if any of y'all winning, y'all better give it to the church. But, you know, that's what we say. We need money, but we want to be rich. We want to have everything. See, if we can learn to separate needs from wants, we will notice that the stuff pile will get a lot lower. Because I don't think any of us need all of the things that we now have. At least I know I don't. You see, the less that you need, the more God can use you. Less really is more. Because when you have less stuff, when you have less obligations that you have to pay for, then you have more time for your family. How many of you like to have more time with family? Right? Right? More time with family? And when we have less obligations, we can have more time with our family, with our friends, with our community. Then we don't have to look and go, you know what? One day, see all the way down there? One day when I retire, I'm going to have the right kind of relationship with God. When I retire, I'm going to have a better relationship with my kids and my grandkids. When I retire, then I'll do things for people in the community. But the scary thing is we may never get to retire. So we better enjoy it back here. See, the less you need, the more God can use you. The less I need, the more God can use me. Less is more. Because you have more of the most important things. So what do you think? Think we can live on less? I bet we can. You think if we do, God can use us more? Absolutely bet you He can and will. But the question is, are we willing to make the changes? Are we willing to say, I will control this stuff. I will not let this stuff control me. Making change. We need to make some changes in our lives so that God can work. But if we're willing to make the changes, I believe He will work. Less is more. You bow your heads and pray. Father, thank you for speaking to us through your word. Thank you for Jesus' stories that He shared to teach us life lessons and principles. And I pray, Father, that we don't get so caught up in greed and things and stuff that we forget how you've blessed us and taken care of us. So, Father, I pray that we would just look inside today. Maybe we go home today and we look around. We just determine whether more is better or less is more. It's not going to be easy, Father, not in the culture in which we live. But I believe if we listen to the voice of the Spirit, He will guide us. And I pray that you guide us in the next few minutes. We love you, Father. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen. How many of us, we had an opportunity to sit down with God, would have said, God, I've got this idea. Here's what I need. I need to live my life the way I want it. I need to be able to make choices even though I know they're wrong, even though I know you don't want me to do those. I need to be able to do that. I just need to be my own person. And then, God, here's what you're going to do. You're going to send your Son to earth. He's going to teach me how to live. And then He's going to die in my place. And He's going to take every bit of the punishment for all of my sins, all the things that I've done against you. He's going to take it on Him in the most torturous death ever. God, that's what I want you to do. And then I want you to raise Him to life. And because He raised from the dead, I want to be able to have a relationship with you again. How many of us would have asked God to do that? I don't believe any of us. But God gave us more. More than we could ever hope. More than we could ever imagine. More than we could ever dream. God gave us more. We celebrate what He gives us every time we come around this table. Because we remember Jesus' death, burial, and resurrection for us more than we would have ever asked for. So the way we do it at Rich Acres is this. We've got a table in the middle, we got two on the side, we got 4 in the back. Anytime over the next 2 songs, you can come up and you can take it with you. You can take it right there where you are, put your cup in one of the containers. If you want to, you can go back to your seat and you can take it right there where you are and then just put it in the holder on the back of you. But we want you to have the opportunity to thank God for doing more. For giving you everything that you need in life. So you can do that. For the next few minutes, you can also give. If God has blessed you and you want to give back to Him, we have offering containers in the front and the back, and you can give that. If you're a guest with us today, we're not asking you to give. You being here today is your gift to us. Thank you for being here. And our members and regular attenders, this is your time to just show God how thankful you are for His blessings. But maybe also during this time, you need to talk about your relationship with Jesus. If you've never accepted Him, I'd love to talk to you about what the Bible says you need to do to have your relationship with God restored. I'll be over in the side. Man, I'd love to be able to talk to you about that. Maybe you're here today and you need prayer. We've got Andrew and Tommy up here in the front, Gary's in the back, and they're here ready to pray for you. But if you want us to pray publicly, let us know what's going on. And we will literally surround you with this church family as we ask God to work in your life. If you'll be a part of this church family, you can do that as well. If you're a baptized believer, we will welcome you into our church family here as we connect you to our growth faith in this service. So I said all that to say this. The next two songs are all about you. Your relationship